Aloha,
everybody.
that was fun. I'm Jason Schwartz. This is Jim Kimmel, or Jimmy Kimmel. To those of you who know him locally, we know Jim locally as, I guess you'd say, a wonderful man who has been a valuable part of our community for many years. When did you get here to Maui?
1956.
56? And Hawaii in general, way back then too?
55.
55. Wow.
Oahu.
1956. It was a new state?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Still
it
a
was
territory. I used to have a territory of Hawaii driving license.
Wow. So you experienced Hawaii before it was United States.
Right.
And yet, territory was a territory that was controlled by?
It was the territory of the United States.
So it was owned by the United States?
How it came to be part of the United States was always a mystery to me.
Uh-huh.
From the time when I first came out here. And I got married in 1957 to a lady on Oahu, and she had no idea how Hawaii came to be part of the United States either, nor did her mother. It was just a commonly accepted fact.
For as long as they know they were
part of the U.S.
But then, so what year was that? That was 56, 55.
57 is when I got married.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, when I say the word territory of Hawaii, that means before someone declared it was theirs, there were people here.
Well, there was a territorial government here. They had a governor, Governor King.
Before the territory, or this is after they?
He was the governor of the territory of Hawaii.
I see.
I met him in the summer of 1955.
Controlled by the United States.
Of course, he's governing on behalf of...
Well, that's why I'm bringing up in this way. So, you got here when it was a territory, and before it was a territory, there was another co-government here, a republic.
It was a republic.
An independent country, right?
Well, before that, there was the lawful Hawaiian government was the Kingdom of Hawaii.
Kingdom, okay.
The Kingdom of Hawaii was a constitutional monarchy.
I see.
It had executive, legislative, and judicial branches, but it was a constitutional monarchy.
Sort of like Britain? I mean, modeled after a royalty group and then a ruling parties and things like that?
Well, I guess so, to some degree. It was...
constitutional monarchy.
It was a constitutional monarchy, and in 1893, on January 17th, 1893, the person in charge of the Kingdom of Hawaii was the Queen, Liliuokalani. Liliuokalani and her government suffered a coup d'etat, and through an illegal act of war, the government of Hawaii was overthrown. And
it was overthrown in January 17th of 1893 through war or through a legal document?
It was an illegal act of war. The U.S. Minister Plenipotentiary ordered the detachment of Marines to come on shore from a naval ship in the harbor, and they set up their guns and trained them on Iolani Palace. And that was the status quo on the morning of January 17th, 1893. So, following this coup d'etat, the lawful Hawaiian government was forced into exile and replaced by a temporary government. They call it the Republic of Hawaii. And then it became the territory of Hawaii, and until 1959 it became the state of Hawaii.
Wow. So this was an independent kingdom in the world that suddenly, and it was a constitutional monarchy. You had king and queen, but it had a constitution and people and ran quite balanced.
It had treaties with many nations, including the United States.
Wow.
Treaties. So it was according to the law of nations, it was, a functional nation. It was a recognized nation. It was a sovereign, independent nation.
Did the people at the time, I don't know if you know, but did the people at the time that were, quote, ruled by Queen Liliuokalani, did they know that they suddenly had a territory that changed the way they were?
Oh, they were very opposed to it.
Oh.
Over 35,000 of them signed a petition in protest of what was going on.
Which was a significant number of them then.
Great
yes?
number. Big,
yeah.
Very, very.
35,000.
Majority.
I see.
So if anything was a plebiscite, that's the closest thing to it on the subject of becoming part of the U.S.
Wow. So how, I know that I remember distinctly, I don't know, you'll tell me the date, in 1993, President Clinton, was that a proclamation or a law? What was that?
It was a joint session of Congress put together Public Law 103-150. By enacting this law, the U.S. government signed off by President Clinton, acknowledged the illegal takeover of the government of the people of Hawaii and everything about it. They fully admitted the crime it was the nice, you'd think, oh, isn't this a nice gesture? 100 years later,
They're admitting that they stole this whole place from
right,
you.
Right. So without their knowledge and understanding, Public Law 103-150 enabled the Aboriginal Hawaiians, the Kanaka Maoli, it enabled them politically to reinstate the lawful Hawaiian government. It made it possible for them to bring their lawful government out of exile.
Wow.
Under and by the authority of law.
So that they were, before, as part of world nations, even with the United States, who then acquired them, because the Queen was in exile and the United States hadn't made it clear and they said, yes, it's true, right?
Not quite sure.
Well, you're saying that the United States took over, they acquired this nation.
Yeah, they stole Hawaii.
Right.
It was a theft of Hawaii.
Right, and its people and its sovereignty, its own.
Yes,
right?
through an illegal act of war.
And now, once admitted, it allowed those that were in exile to reform and show their faces.
Exactly, exactly.
I see. That's the reinstated government of Hawaii.
The reinstated kingdom, lawful Hawaiian government, the Kingdom of Hawaii.
Wow. I hope that everyone catches that, because we see these groups on the side of the road and we don't know who they are, what they are, what's happening now. That's very powerful.
Yeah, well, it's very important to know the facts and the truth of this whole matter, because especially today's world, the Hawaiian sovereignty movement has been evolving since 1973, in my memory, as I got involved with it on Kauai in
73.
Early 1973.
How did the Hawaiians then, who were reinstating and gathering, right? How did they feel about, you were showing the Urantia book probably. I mean, were they already, many of them, I don't know if the word Christians right, believers in Jesus or Islam or Chinese? They were a mixture, I guess.
Most of the people involved in the lawful Hawaiian government, I would say, are of some Christian faith.
I see.
It's a variety, but it's. I've given them all copies of this book and done my best to introduce it to them, but people are slow to be happy to receive a gift from God. They treat it with skepticism and suspicion almost. Like they're thinking, oh my God, thoughts that aren't good.
I don't understand that part.
Here's a gift from God.
Yeah.
How could a gift from God be anything but good?
Well, maybe it's the way it's being delivered. Maybe they need
Video
video or audio.
Doesn't have the right cover.
These are new times, and I think that people, myself included, to think about reading a 2,100-page book versus to see a TV series for 5 years. It's a different world, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, it's Tuesday, double feature. It might be a different way to approach it, you know? I'm sure it has been.
Yeah, well, the significance of it.
The Urantia book we're talking about.
Yeah.
Matt?
Yeah, please. The significance of it is cosmic. Like it's a book on cosmology, or it's a cosmology of the universe, I should say. And it's very significant because it has to do with the destiny of the human race, as to whether we're going to achieve one potential or the other. The two potentials of human destiny is group extinction or group survival.
Yeah.
And the direction that mankind has been taking for the last 100 years or so is increasingly toward group destruction. So there's a faction of people on earth that have been about the business of creating war, and another group that are caught up in the consequences of all that, which has to do with a lot of inequalities.
Yeah, I guess some would say, do what I say, not what I do. That it? Inequality. Yeah.
Oh boy, yeah. So these gross inequalities have got people really stifled, so to speak. The monopolization of business. John Rockefeller once upon a time said, competition is a sin. Give me a monopoly. I want control.
Wow.
So
It's nice to know that control is something that, instead of directed outward, if directed inward, that's where we have control.
we have much more liberty inside our minds than outside here.
You know, when I think of kingdoms, I really want to continue to talk about it in a second. The kingdom of Hawaii, where we are now, and
Right.
how important it can be for this world to understand a different concept, that concept being peace, and how this all ties together.
Yeah.
It's really very interesting to me. But I just want to be sure to mention the calm that comes from you when you speak about this is very comfortable and easy to hear. We're talking about some subjects here that are, I guess, quite controversial. But you are, I guess, the controversy is how real you are. You know, we hope that.
Well, it's about I have a faith connection with the Prince of Peace, and he's the source of our peace, of my peace. So, like, I'm one of his children, and more than happy to be able to work in partnership with him for the benefit of everybody.
So we've heard the Prince of Peace. For those of you out there, some of you want to call him.
Well, Jesus was the Prince of Peace.
So there you are.
Jesus was the promised bestowal Son of God that Melchizedek prophesied or predicted or told Abraham. Sooner or later, God's going to send you a son.
So does that mean that, say, Christians or believers in Jesus should probably go out and look and see this book? Probably excited to see it.
It's the greatest thing to hit this planet since Jesus, and you would think that they would be the happiest ones to get to it.
And some are, I imagine, but there's probably a lot more that might want to.
They had been so conditioned that against anything beyond the Bible that they're not happy to have the gift that God has made available.
Well,
To the extreme, some of them have actually burned the book.
well, you know,
Back in the
I have to
70s.
process that for a moment with
Yeah.
your allowance.
Sure.
There are lots of books in the world that are not the Bible that people embrace. So you're saying this is put on the condemned pile by some, but not all. Not
Well,
all, I'm sure.
The Christians who believe that every word in the Bible is true, which is a big mistake, but there's a lot of people who believe that every word in the Bible is true. And way back in the back end in Revelations, it says that something to the effect that anything added to this book is off base.
So I'm just saying, in this world, so this, because it's talking about it, you can't have
it's adding something
anything
new.
add to the words that came that was perfect as
Right,
it stood.
right,
It's a complete document.
right.
Interpretations,
They believe
could
it's-
this be considered an interpretation?
Well, the infallibility of the scriptures is the problem. To believe that a book is infallible is a serious mistake. And to believe every word in a book is true when they're not is an error of observation and understanding.
Well, it's interesting because you come from a scientific background. I wonder how many people catch that. Watch this a couple of times, because that was a very, very important factor.
Yeah.
Because you need to come from the right paradigm and understand the difference. And sometimes we think these things go together when in fact they don't. They're separate ideas.
Right.
So that, I would think that I'm going to put a message out to the audience for a second. Excuse me.
Sure.
Urantia, Urantia book, the Urantia book. Probably very easy to find online.
Yes, just Google it and you'll have a copy so you can read it.
It's right online. And then probably there's audio. Probably you can even have your internet read it to you.
Yeah.
And it's got a. What I am most amazed at is that you constantly come up with words of wisdom. Many times they're words from Jesus, and they're words from others. However, this came into being. That's another show. But a lot of it's from you. You know, you embrace God. You know, and you embrace what I think is the essence of brotherhood. And it's refreshing, because I'm, you know, and maybe this is a little commentary. I think the world needs to get more into taking care of each other and not being so callous about fighting and warring, but find solutions for everyone, because there's great abundance.
And
There's great abundance.
And there's a spiritual solution for every problem ever created by man.
Well, I have to hear that again to understand.
There's
a spiritual solution for every problem?
For every problem. The
So-
solution of every problem. Because it's usually about love and truth. Discovering it or realizing it or understanding it. Or
Unveiling the absolute truth.
or applying it, you know. Yeah.
Well, how does the Prince of Peace and the Kingdom of Hawaii and where we are now and where we're going, how does that all come together? Is that anything referenced in any way there?
Yeah, there's a paper here.
So we can find this online.
Yeah, we can find this online.
We'll find it here in a second.
Here it is.
That's it.
Urantia's post-bestowal age.
Which is the name of this paper?
Planetary Mortal Epics.
I'm sorry. That's the name of the...
The paper number 52.
Paper 52. Planetary Mortal
Epics.
Epics. Okay. EPOCH. Okay.
Right, epics.
And this is
Urantia's post-bestowal age.
number 6. Okay.
It says the bestowal son is the Prince of Peace. Okay. He arrives with the message, peace on earth and goodwill among men. On normal worlds, this is a dispensation of worldwide peace. The nations no more learn more, but such salutary influences did not attend the coming of your bestowal son, Christ Michael. Urantia is not proceeding in the normal order. Your world is out of step in the planetary procession. Your master, when on earth, warned his disciples that his advent would not bring the usual reign of peace on Urantia. He distinctly told them that there would He distinctly told them that there would be wars and rumors of wars, and that nation would rise against nation. At another time he said, "Think not that I have come to bring peace upon earth." Even on normal evolutionary worlds, the realization of the worldwide brotherhood of man is not an easy accomplishment. On a confused and disordered planet like Urantia, such an achievement requires a much longer time and necessitates far greater effort.
Okay.
Unaided social evolution can hardly achieve such happy results on a spiritually isolated sphere. Religious revelation is essential to the realization of brotherhood on Urantia.
Those two sentences are worth everything. Could you repeat those two sentences? Would you be so kind? Listen to this.
Religious revelation is essential to the realization of brotherhood on Urantia.
And the one before that says,
Unaided social evolution can hardly achieve such happy results on a spiritually isolated sphere.
get that? That means you just heard it. Wow, that's paper 52. Those are powerful words for contemplation.
Yeah. While Jesus has shown the way to the immediate attainment of spiritual brotherhood, the realization of social brotherhood on your world depends much on the achievement of the following personal transformations and planetary adjustments. First, social fraternity.
Fraternity, that means get along, okay.
Multiplication of international and interracial social contacts and fraternal associations through travel, commerce, and competitive play. Development of a common language and the multiplication of multilinguists. The racial and national interchange of students, teachers, industrialists, and religious philosophers.
I like that.
Second, intellectual cross-fertilization. Brotherhood is impossible on a world whose inhabitants are so primitive that they fail to recognize the folly of unmitigated selfishness.
You listening? I know I am. Go ahead.
There must occur an exchange of national and racial literature. Each race must become familiar with the thought of all races. Each nation must know the feelings of all nations. Ignorance breeds suspicion, and suspicion is incompatible with the essential attitude of sympathy and love.
Right.
Third, ethical awakening.
That's a powerful one.
Only ethical consciousness can unmask the immorality of human intolerance and the sinfulness of fratricidal strife.
Fratricidal strife.
Fratricidal strife.
That's an interesting
Brothers
word.
killing brothers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Only a moral conscience can condemn the evils of national envy and racial jealousy. Only moral beings will ever seek for that spiritual insight which is essential to living the golden rule. Fourth, political wisdom. Emotional maturity is essential to self-control. Only emotional maturity will ensure the substitution of international techniques of civilized adjudication for the barbarous arbitrament of war.
That's how the Kingdom of Hawaii comes right in.
Exactly.
Wow.
Wise statesmen will sometime work for the welfare of humanity, even while they strive to promote the interest of their national or racial groups. Selfish political sagacity is ultimately suicidal, destructive of all.
Go ahead.
Selfish political sagacity is ultimately suicidal, destructive of all those enduring qualities which ensure planetary group survival. Talking about group extinction or group survival.
Yeah, that's it right there.
And fifth, spiritual insight. The brotherhood of man is, after all, predicated on the recognition of the fatherhood of God. The quickest way to realize the brotherhood of man on Urantia is to effect the spiritual transformation of present-day humanity. The only technique for accelerating the natural trend of social evolution is that of applying spiritual pressure from above, thus augmenting moral insight while enhancing the soul capacity of every mortal to understand and love every other mortal. Mutual understanding and fraternal love are transcendent civilizers and mighty factors in the worldwide realization of the brotherhood of man. If you could be transplanted from your backward and confused world to some normal planet now in the post-bestowal sun age, you would think you had been translated to the heaven of your traditions. You would hardly believe that you were observing the normal evolutionary workings of a mortal sphere of human habitation. These worlds are in the spiritual circuits of their realm, and they enjoy all the advantages of the universe broadcasts and the reflectivity services of the super universe.
Well, you know, it's interesting as you're reading. It becomes clear there's so many levels of what this is talking about, like just what you read there.
Yeah.
That's a very deep little passage in recognizing, you know, our part in a larger and greater thing. There's just so much in here. Well, it's really nice that it's so available on the internet and so readily available.
Yeah.
And that you regularly get together with groups here on Maui, I know.
Yeah, we have weekly meetings.
Okay. Is there a way that people can be in touch with you?
Yeah, my phone number is 264-1493.
Yeah, about an email address.
Email is peaceinc@maui.net.
Peace, INC,
Mm-hmm.
at Maui.net.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that, you know, Peace Incorporated. You are. And you have a countenance about you that is very refreshing, Jim.
Well, world peace is my objective. World peace. World peace includes personal peace, social peace, moral peace, economic peace, and political peace.
Okay.
So it's like a rainbow of...
Is that the 5 I just read?
No,
Just very close.
Yeah, these are different things altogether.
But moral, political, as you're saying them, I was just reflecting on that. I just read.
Yeah.
The Kingdom of Hawaii, how does one affect that? I mean, it's interesting, this show wrapping around these ideas.
Well, because what's really significant is the fact that in her official protest to the U.S. government, the Queen, in the bottom line of her official protest, she says, "And to the Almighty Ruler of the universe, to him who judgeth righteously, I commit my cause." So now that's a very significant thing. The person she left her cause with is the same person the Americans recognize in their Declaration of Independence as their creator and the supreme judge of the world.
So there's a common, seems a little funny there.
These two nations
Yeah.
recognize the same creator, and yet there's a conflict of interest to the max.
Well, you just told me that there was an apology by Clinton, which set up a reinstated Hawaiian government.
Right.
Is there any bringing it before a world body in such a way as to somehow reclassify, identify our people here?
Well, the thing that's really significant is the fact that the sovereign of our universe, the Prince of Peace, has ruled in favor of the Queen's official protest.
Right. I mean, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm saying that the Prince of Peace is intimately
Common
involved in the reinstatement of the lawful Hawaiian government. Not only for the purpose of the Kanakas and all the Hawaiian people, but he has a purpose as well.
Wow.
So he has a purpose for each of us.
That's powerful.
Ours has to do with helping people get a better grasp on reality and understanding of themselves and one another. And we're facing the potentials of world war, and we have on the other side of the spectrum of choice, world peace. And we can see what's taken us toward world war. But what takes us toward world peace first is the desire of the people to have world peace. Yeah. And then there has to be some place on earth serve as the focal point of that new form of world government of the people, by the people, and for the people and the nations of the world. And Hawaii just suits the purpose for such a potential reality as this government of the people of the world. With the Kingdom of Hawaii, with the reinstated Kingdom of Hawaii being the host government of this global government for the benefit of all the other governments and peoples of the world.
Wow, that's a mouthful. A host government, I don't want to compare it with, but sort of like banking-wise and that kind of thing, like the Cayman Islands or those kind of...
Taking care of all the essential physical needs.
And as an example to the world of what can be done by a self-contained nation.
Sure. For example, as it stands right now,
Lines with us.
we have the right to create our own central bank. We have this right under the Constitution of the Kingdom of Hawaii.
I've heard conversation about that for at least a few election cycles.
Yeah, well, I've been promoting the potentials of a whole new economic system of economic freedom based on economic equality.
Okay.
Okay? We have spiritual freedom based on spiritual equality. We have political freedom based on political equality. And we can create economic freedom based on economic equality as a function of the legislative body of the Kingdom of Hawaii, the Manukau Kanawai. The idea in its simplest form is, okay, the central bank of the Kingdom of Hawaii would have an account for every Hawaiian national. And into this account for every Hawaiian national would be deposited whatever the legislative body decides should serve as the foundation for economic equality, such as $1 million, let's say. Let's say we want to make a nation of millionaires.
Okay.
Okay, the legislative body can choose to do that. Now you say, well, what's going to back the money? The intrinsic and inherent value of both the Hawaiian National and the Hawaiian Archipelago, who is the jurisdictional base of the Kingdom of Hawaii.
Mm-hmm. Intrinsic value meaning the value of it as a resource.
Well, as a person, we're sons and daughters of God. To God, we're of infinite value. That's priceless.
So how it relates to I guess a currency is just a means of exchange. It's just words.
How can we to be of supreme value, which is maximum possible finite potential, to be supremely valuable to one another, it's a matter of cooperative living and cooperative existence. Cooperation is much more efficient than competition. And if every one of the Hawaiian national citizens has a budget, then they're free to get the education they want in the arena that they're interested in. They can begin to explore the potentials of, now that I have a budget, I can do whatever I choose. And what should I choose? What should I do? Well, think about the fact that God has a purpose for each of us in mind. And it has to do with our inheriting of His will.
Well, it'd be an interesting thing to see that. Let's just say for a moment that happened.
Yeah.
Would it change immediately? Let's say someone's a bookkeeper for the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Now they get it.
Yeah, yeah.
But now everyone around them get it. Well, I think it's like popcorn, everything popping at the same time. Nothing pops at the same time. But it would be a transition. Some of those people would leave, and some would stay there. If you suddenly had $1 million, but $1 million, its significant was a declaration of abundance and having all you need, rather
Statement of facts.
than so much that you're frivolous with it, and but a balance.
If we're of infinite value to God, we should become of supreme value to one another. How can we become, supremely effective relative to one another? Well, get educated and get acquainted with yourself. And your purpose has to do with becoming a unified personality and the desire to serve the human brotherhood relative to some natural function.
Well, those are words so eloquently stated. Let me turn them into American.
Okay.
Help each other. We're a human brotherhood. Not only if you're American, but if you're someone here on this planet, you're worthy of brotherhood, giving, sharing. When you have abundance, make it part of your beingness to give and share and help. In these times, someone would say, wait, that's very socialist.
Sharing is godlike.
I guess I'm not sure how you want to define it. If I see someone who has a need, don't I try to fill that need? If you have extra, is it that you need to fill your storehouses more full when your storehouses already are full? And that you have with which to share to help another human being, a brotherhood.
Absolutely.
A sisterhood. A
Well,
fraternity of man and woman.
Sharing is godlike.
These aren't new concepts to you.
Yeah, and
just putting them in a framework that is now.
It's greater to give than to receive. If you have something to give, oh, how nice to be able to share it.